Hey guys, MCU Collector here with a new video, and here we have the Walmart exclusive Avengers Infinity War 2-pack of Loki and Corvus Glaive. Now, online, Walmart says it releases March 31st. It originally said April 14th or whatever it was like that, but they are now starting to show up in-store in a pallet display with Endgame merchandise. So depending on your store location, on what they do, if they put it out, however it works out. But there is no actual street date attached to the figure or even the Endgame figures at all. So if you see them in store, they're out on the sales floor. If you take them up to the register, you will not have a problem at all. But it's an issue of, are you able to, is the display out on the sales floor so you can grab the items, or is it not? Will they open it for you? Will they check? All those things are going to kind of come into play. But I was lucky enough to be able to grab this Avengers Infinity War 2-pack from a local Walmart store. Not even local, it was about an hour away. I did a little bit of driving because I just wanted to get this figure set that much. You guys know me, I'm extremely impatient when it comes to getting these Marvel Legends. So I made the trip out there to get this pack. I did look online. I also used BrickSeek and noticed that it was in stock. So it looks like most of the stores are getting 5 within that display. But I didn't want to wait any longer, so I have it. I need to complete my black order, and finally I can. So as you can see here, it is Avengers Infinity War because it is based on that movie, because Loki and Corvus Glaive both died in Infinity War. If you haven't seen the movie, I'm sorry. Spoiler warning. So really cool. On the side artwork, we see Loki. Other side, we get some artwork for Corvus Glaive. I know it's a little bit dark. Here on the back of the package, you see we have Loki and Corvus Glaive, and the bio reads, known for his shifting allegiances, Loki faces evil head-on when he is confronted by the Black Order, a sinister group of Thanos' cohorts that includes the menacing Corvus Glaive. So pretty generic, but that's the bio that they gave us. But anyway, let's get to it and open up this 2-pack. Okay, and here are the Loki and Corvus Glaive figures out of the package. So I'm going to be very honest with you guys. This Corvus Glaive figure is fantastic. This Loki figure is just okay. And the reason for that is because this is basically a repaint of the Thor Ragnarok Loki figure, which I actually do not like. The head sculpt I think is good. The figure itself, I really don't like. And that's hard for me to say because I'm a movie figure guy, so any of the MCU figures I usually love. When it first came out, I really did like it, but as time went on, I just learned to not like this figure. And I had talked about it in the review for the Talos figure, which actually uses a lot of the same parts for that figure as this Loki figure does. And you can see it's the exact same as the Ragnarok Loki, and I don't like it. There's something about it. The cape doesn't sit on the shoulders well, even though it has little pegs to go into the shoulder. The shoulders are too narrow, so they don't peg in nicely. You can't get them both to stay in at the same time. You can do one, but you can't do the other. So the torso I wish was wider. The clothing, the rubber skirt piece is kind of weird. But what I do really like about this figure is I do like the updated color scheme, because this is 100%, well, maybe not 100%, but it is very close to the look that he has in Infinity War. And for whatever reason, you know, you go from Thor Ragnarok, which is kind of a slapstick comedy movie almost, so bright, colorful, like Sakaar. Then you go to Infinity War, where it was very dark, and, you know, he's attacked. The ship is attacked at the beginning of the movie, so he has the dark colors and gives us a more classic looking Loki. So I am very happy to have this figure in that sense, but I do not like the figure whatsoever. But it is 100% the same, just the new paint details. But this time we get a Tesseract. It's the same Tesseract accessory that we've seen with the Mandroid Wave Red Skull, which for that figure would be the Cosmic Cube. And then we also got this with the MCU, the Marvel Studios, the first 10 years, the San Diego Comic-Con box set with the electronic Tesseract, the Red Skull. It is the same exact piece. So we have the Tesseract now, so you can kind of recreate that opening scene from Infinity War. So that's kind of how we have it there. So in the interest of time, because I know I ramble on, I am not going to review this figure. If you guys are curious to know what the articulation is like, I do have a review for the Thor Ragnarok Loki up on my channel. And that was early on when I first started the MCU Collector 24 channel. But I do have a review for that figure. So if you really want to see the articulation, please check out that video. I'll try to put a card, a little eye up here, linking to that video, or I might do it in the comments or something. But if you do really want to see the articulation, I'll go over it there. But I will kind of get a close-up look so you can see the head sculpt and see the costume design, that kind of thing. Most of this video will be focused on Corvus Glaive because he's an awesome figure. He completes our Black Order along with Ebony Maw. So depending on when you guys will get your figure, if you guys are going to complete your Black Order, but that's why we're going to spend time on this thing, because this thing is crazy detailed, so it's really awesome. So first, let's get a zoomed in look at Loki. Okay, here he is. I even have a hard time getting him to stand. So this is, even when this figure was first released, the Thor Ragnarok version, it was pretty early on in the digital face print technology. You know, the Guardians of the Galaxy Wave 2 was the first wave to do it. And then the next wave, I want to say, and correct me if I'm wrong down in the comments, but I want to say the next wave to utilize it was the Marvel Knights wave, the MCU Netflix shows like Daredevil, Jessica Jones, and then this wave, which dropped right around the same time. I think I got this wave just before, like a week or two before the Marvel Knights wave. So the digital print technology was pretty early on, but it still holds up. It's basically the same exact face print. Maybe his face isn't as shiny as the previous one, but it is the same thing. But I really like the black and green that they used for this figure, because it gives us that classic Loki look. You know, we have a green cape instead of a blue and yellow cape. So it does look really good. I really like the way it came out. So the look of it is great, but again, the figure is just not my favorite because just the torso is just so narrow. You know, if it was, the torso was a little bit wider, it would be a little bit better. So that's just kind of my gripe about it. And I know, you know, I hate complaining, and I don't do it often really, because I tend to actually truly love all these figures, but this one just doesn't work for me. But again, I love the color scheme of this one, so I am very happy to add it to my collection. But as you can see, look at that. That's coming off the shoulder. That one's barely on. Ugh. Anyway, let's move away from Loki, and let's take a look at Corvus Glaive. If I can get Loki to stand up. Nope, he fell. That's all right. Here is Corvus Glaive. Look at that thing. This thing is awesome. Wow. Look at the details on this guy. That is just crazy. For the most part, the figure itself is done in a dark gray plastic, so it's not quite black. Even though it might look black on the video, it's not quite there. And one thing that I don't know if it's going to come through, and you can see it a little bit, like especially on the calf here, but there's a little bit of bronze coloring throughout certain areas of it. So it's not just that plastic color. There is some coloring in that. And I don't know if it's because of the marbleization that we see in the plastic that comes through like that. See, you can kind of see it right on that shine. See that light? Really great the way they do it. Now, the extra pieces, here's a look at the back of the figure. So this cape thing that he wears, you could see it's done in that same kind of dark gray, but it's got this gold bronze brush or dry brushing or whatever over it, and it looks very good. But the sculpted texture and the sculpted lines of this cape are amazing. Just take a look at that. They even did it on the inside. Now, not quite, actually, not all the way. It's just the paint doesn't really go all the way up, but we even get that same paint on the inside of it, which is crazy. And then he also has kind of this skirt piece here, which is done with the same kind of material. We get that same gold bronze color paint throughout the front and the back of it. Not the inside though. So if you look at the inside, you can see that there is no coloring in there whatsoever, and that's okay with me. We'll take a look at his staff here shortly if I can get it out of his hand, which doesn't want to come out. There we go. So really cool. So here over his shoulders, he's got another piece. I don't know what you would call this. But it's not part of the head. It's actually it's actually part of the cape. But the way it drapes down over the figure, so we get the same rubber material, and we get that bronzing throughout. So it's a lot of nice detail in there. Now I do have one complaint about this figure, and I'm gonna have to zoom out so you guys could see what I am talking about. But the problem that I'm having with this guy is he kind of can have a hard time standing. And the reason why is because if you look, that cape is so long, and the reason why it's because it drags on the floor. So that's supposed to be part of the character design. But the problem is it wants to kind of hinder his way from him standing up. So you have to make sure that it's kind of out more, so it's pushed back so he can kind of stand. So you have to make sure to do that, otherwise, you know, it's going to look funny, or he's going to be angled, or he's going to fall down. So we want to make sure to be mindful of that, because again, it's sculpted to actually to drape and drag along the floor, as you could see, but you just need to make sure you kind of get it out there. All right, so let's go over the articulation of Corvus Glaive. So he can look side to side. There's not really any pivot motion in his head. He can look down, which is great. And he can look up. So he's got this hood, but it's done with a nice flexible rubber material that he can still look up and without really causing any issues. Now the arms are going to be hindered as far as the articulation. So this arm, you're going to get that high up because there's nothing really blocking it on this side. But his left arm is very blocked. You're not going to get that thing up very high at all. You're going to get it up that far. So that's a little unfortunate. There is a bicep swivel that you can still work out. There is a double jointed elbow, so you can get a crazy bend on the elbow there, as you can see. There's no ab crunch, but he has a diaphragm joint, so he can pivot to the side. But when you do that, the cape, again, the cape, you have to work around the cape. So he can pivot to the side that much as well there. He can crunch forward that much, which isn't a whole lot, but he can go back quite a bit. But again, you're going to run into big issues when it comes to this heavy cape. So there is a waist swivel in there. The legs go out that far apart, so that's good motion there. Again, the skirt piece isn't going to hinder it. You could see it could kind of flap up. There is an upper thigh cut. You get a double jointed knee, which works great. There's no boot swivel, but you get a nice ankle pivot that hinges all the way down and hinges up pretty far as well. So great articulation on this guy. It's typical articulation we would expect out of a Marvel Legend, so that is great. Now, a couple of things of what I want to do with this figure is I want to pop this head off and see what it looks like without this piece there. So that now we kind of get a different look at the figure, and we could see that there isn't a whole lot of paint on this figure, but again, I think it might be more the marbleization of the plastic, but I'm getting that bronze look in certain areas of it. But you could see that definitely on the shoulders and this chest portion that you're getting minimal paint, because again, those are the areas that are covered by his cape. So, you know, there's not really a need to actually have anything paint detailing in there, so we don't see it. Now, one thing that is very interesting, and I like that they, you know, paid attention to some of these details. He has 3 fingers and a thumb, so he only has 4 fingers on his hand, which is really weird when trying to get his staff into his hand. And then his feet, look at his feet. Very, very odd looking. 4 toes, you got 2 long toes. Just an interesting character design there, and you know, they got gold toenails or something for his feet, so it's interesting. But you could see a lot of sculpted details and textures onto what I assume is just his body. Maybe it's an armor or some kind of clothing piece that he wears, but a lot of sculpted detail on it, which I do really, really like, and I appreciate the effort that Hasbro put in to this Corvus Glaive figure. And then as far as the face, he has red eyes, which I think it's going to be hard to make out here in the video, depending on how close I can get it. Some of the lighting, let's see if I can get some bright light on it, how that might look. It's a little hard to see, but he's got red eyes, and then his face, his skin tone is kind of a dull gray. It's kind of like Ebony Maw's gray. Same kind of gray that you'll see in his face, but it looks really good. The sculpted detail on his face came out great. A little bit of gold paint that they have on there came out really good and really clean as well. So I really like the way that looks. All right, so we get Corvus Glaive. So now let's take a closer look at his staff. Whoop. Okay, so here is the Tesseract. Again, it's just done in a translucent blue color. And then here is Corvus Glaive's staff. And this looks pretty good. So it's not a bright metallic gold or anything like that, but I kind of like that it has that satin look, or that matte look to it. It looks like it got a little bit of paint scratch there, but it almost has like a brushed gold look to it. And it looks like it's missing a little bit of paint there, so that's kind of unfortunate in some areas, but it's not terrible. So the plastic itself is done in this gunmetal gray color, and then the gold is what's painted on, so it just kind of misses the mark in a couple of spots, but not too bad. The sculpted detail of it looks good. I'm trying to think of the SH Figure Arts Captain America figure comes with this, and I want to say this thing is a lot more detailed. Now this is pretty thin and pliable. The one that comes with the Captain America, I don't know, it looks thicker. But it doesn't look nearly as detailed. So those of you guys that have that Captain America figure, let me know how this compares to that one. Without having that figure, I can't say for sure, but I think from what I can remember and seeing pictures, this thing is much more detailed than that one. But you guys let me know down in the comments below if I'm right or wrong on that. But it does look very good, and again, I like the way it came out and the details of it. Now for Corvus Glaive, what you do is you can kind of put it in his hands. So his right hand is a little bit more open, so he can't really grip it or anything, but they have these handles here that you can kind of get his 3 fingers into, so he can hold it kind of that way, and it just kind of sits into his hand like that. Or you can kind of get this hand and put those fingers around onto that handle. This one, because his left hand is a little bit more closed, is definitely a little bit more difficult to get this into his hand. Now, it's not impossible in any way. You just kind of have to work the fingers to go around it. And you can get it in like so. So we can hold it no problem, but that's how it is. So there it is. So that's kind of everything that I wanted to go over with the figure. Now I'm going to do some comparisons, show you guys the Black Order all together. Okay, and here is the Black Order all together, and they look great together. I really like the way that looks. I'm going to add in there. Let's try that again. Okay, there we go. There is the Black Order together with Thanos, and they look great. I really like the way they all look together. And I don't know, can't really get the armored Thanos in there. I guess if I just kind of throw him in there. But they look very good. Now I'm going to go over a few size comparisons of Corvus Glaive to see how big he really is and how tall he stands. Okay, first size comparison. Here we have him next to Vision, and most of the time Corvus Glaive is shown in the movie trying to remove the Mind Stone from Vision's head. So he's attacking him, they're fighting or whatever. Vision's the one that ends up killing Corvus Glaive, but there is the size comparison between them two. Next up, we have size comparison with Captain America. Captain America and Corvus Glaive are fighting when he is trying to protect Vision from the attack that Corvus Glaive was giving him. And here we have Corvus Glaive next to his wife, Proxima Midnight. Now, it's not mentioned actually in the film, but I think during one of the tie-in comics, the preludes or something, it is mentioned that they are married. So husband and wife right there. Here he is next to Ebony Maw, and you can see Ebony Maw is a little bit taller than he is. It's almost not even fair, but here he is next to Cole Obsidian, but we knew Cole Obsidian would be just towering over Corvus Glaive because he's even bigger than Thanos. Okay, here he is next to the Infinity War, the Marvel Studios 10th anniversary Thanos. And to round off the size comparisons, here is Corvus Glaive next to the armored Thanos Build-A-Figure. Actually, you know what? Let's do one more size comparison. Okay, final size comparison. Here we have the Infinity War Thor. This is the Thor from that opening scene next to Corvus Glaive. And you can see that Thor is not Not quite as tall as Corvus Glaive, but he's only just a little bit shorter, so you can see that Thor is pretty big, but the Corvus Glaive is actually still even taller. So that has been my review, and you can tell that it was very Corvus Glaive heavy, as it should, because that is the highlight of the 2-pack. Not that the Loki is a terrible figure, it's just only a okay or good figure. There's nothing stand out about it other than the accurate costume, the movie colors. So that is really cool. But again, it's all about the Corvus Glaive. If you guys have any questions about the review or about the figure or anything, let me know down in the comments below. Hit that thumbs up if you guys liked the video. Subscribe if you haven't already done so. And as always, thank you for watching.